What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Adventure Outpost. Another weekend has come and gone, so you know what that means. It's time to talk box office numbers, baby. It was a wild one at the box office, not for one because it was a hugely successful weekend. Nope, it was the lowest grossing weekend for the entire summer, with grossing $55.5 million total over the weekend. A just absolutely paltry sum. A number that we haven't hit since all the way back in the last weekend of February, back when we had Uncharted and Dog coming out. We haven't had this low of a box office weekend since February, so we were having a really good run, but it just goes to show that all good things must come to an end at some point, and August is just going to be, I feel like, the next few weeks until we probably get to the end of September, beginning of October, is just going to be week after week of just some sad numbers. I'm hoping for some miracles. We might be able to keep it alive with some small, like, big bumps with Beast coming out, a couple of horror movies, Don't Worry Darling in September, but it is going to be a very interesting and low freaking next few weeks. It is going to be something, that is to be sure. But there are definitely some winners that we're going to get into here today. I think you know who that winner may be, but we're going to waste no time and we're going to dive right into those charts, and we're just going to see where the movies lied for this weekend of August 12th to the 14th. Without any stiff competition, Bullet Train manages to take number one again for the second week in a row, with not a very impressive total to add to its run. Bullet Train in its second week has a drop of 55.4%, with a total of $13.4 million added onto its haul, for a total domestic gross of $54.483 million. It still has a bit of a leg to get to if it wants to hit that $100 million domestic gross. I hope it gets there. Anytime we're hitting blockbuster movies, it looks good for our cinema, looks good for our business. It's always working well. This movie's got a little bit more than 45 million left to do it. There is nothing really coming out for the rest of August, so it has as long as it needs really to hit that gross. Hopefully this movie can at least keep retaining some money week after week to get it to that $100 million mark. DC League of Super Pets still in number 2 for the third week in a row. It's third week of release, second week in a row that it is at number 2, because its opening weekend it was in number 1. But in week 3, it takes a 35.1% drop, with $7.170 million to its domestic haul of $58.347 million. This is another one that it does not look like it is going to have the mustard to get to $100 million. It is really slowing down super quickly. Probably the only super thing about this movie is how quickly it's dropping off. It does not look like it's going to be a big winner for the DC brand, or for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Kevin Hart, and anybody else who was in that movie. I still have yet to see this movie. It is probably the one big summer movie that's been out that I have yet to see. I'm sure I will get around to it before it leaves theaters. I just have no fucking interest in going. Top Gun Maverick, the big fucking unsung hero. Here we go. This is what we were talking about. Who is the big winner of the week? Of course it's Top Gun, because who else would be? But Top Gun, in its 12th week, is back in the top 5 at number 3. Last week, it took its first dive out of the top 5, landing in 6th place. This week, it's back in the top 5 at number 3. It is the only movie in this top 10 today to do a positive, to make more money than it did the previous week. It is plus 1.6%. It made $7.150 million to add to its domestic total of $673 million. This movie is the little engine that fucking could. It just does not want to stop. You want to knock it out of the top 5 last week? Well, guess what, baby? It's fucking back, and you're going to have to deal with it. This movie is just balls to the walls and never gonna stop. It's gonna run straight through Labor Day, and honestly, I could see us keeping it until the end of Labor Day, even after that, maybe even to the end of September, because there is literally nothing coming out until probably Don't Worry Darling at the end of September. There is literally just a barren wasteland of just movies that are coming out that are going to do absolutely nothing. This movie I could see us keeping all the way until the beginning of October, and it's just going to keep fucking making money. It's going to stay in this top 5, and it's just going to be an absolute, it's an absolute juggernaut. I can't take week to week. I'm just continuously blown away by this movie and this movie's performance. I couldn't be happier with how it ended up. I continue to say it, but I was so worried about this movie making money and doing well and finding a spot in this summer movie season. I never in my wildest dreams could have ever imagined how well this movie was going to do, that it was going to blow all the animated movies out of the water. It was going to blow anything Marvel had out of the water. It is just an absolute phenomenon, and I couldn't be happier. Thor: Love and Thunder remains in 4th place in its 6th week, dropping 31.1% from last week. It takes in $5.3 million added to its domestic total of $325 million. This is another movie just starting to drop off the rails. I mean, it's been consistently in the top 5 for its whole runtime, but it doesn't look like it's really putting up the numbers that I feel like Marvel is expecting from Thor. Or even from most of their Marvel movies. I think this late in the game, like you should be making money hand over fist. Like but if Phase 4 has shown us anything, it is that even something as a sure bet as Marvel is not a sure bet. And granted, it's all taken with a grain of salt because these movies are still making a large sum of money. Like nobody, at the end of its total haul, nobody's going to be like Thor was a box office disaster. But these movies that should be making over $1 billion are coming only 3/4 of the way there. And that's something that you might have to consider when you're somebody at Marvel who's consistently knocking out home runs, and now you're knocking triples. So it's maybe time to go back to the status board and see what we're doing that all of a sudden we're not hitting those homers anymore. And then rounding out the top 5 is Nope. In its 4th week, dropping 37.6%. It takes in $5.3 million for a total domestic haul of $107 million. The movie, we said it last week that it was going to break the $100 million barrier. It was going to reach blockbuster status, and it did so this weekend. Couldn't be happier for that movie. That is, Jordan Peele now is 3 for 3 with written and directed movies breaking over $100 million. That is an incredible feat. Couldn't be happier for the guy. He makes some great movies. His movies are always super unique and original and entertaining. I'm very happy that this man has continued and has another box office win in his belt. I can't wait to see what he does next. Dropping now into 6th place, Minions falls out of the top 5 in week number 7 with a 31.1% drop. It adds $4.899 million to its total domestic haul of $343 million. Minions just making money hand over fist. I know it doesn't seem it domestically, but we will see it when we get to worldwide. The fucking people love the Minions. Where the Crawdads Sing, taking the 7th in week number 5 with a 29.5% drop. It makes $3.999 million to its total domestic haul of $72.149 million. Not too far to go to hit that $100 million mark. I don't think it might have the juice. This movie is running out of steam. It is dropping itself out of theaters with each week that it goes by. My theater lost it. I've seen a bunch of other theaters on the island have lost it. So I don't know if this one's going to have the goods. One of the new movies dropping in at number 8. Never a good sign. We talked about this last week with Easter Sunday. We're going back in it again this week. We're switching out. Easter Sunday dropped out of the top 10 already, and it's replaced in the 8th position with another new movie, Bodies, 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 in its first week with $3.251 million. It technically released last week, but it was in very limited theaters, so it doesn't count. I'm counting it as a week 1 release because when you look at it from going from its like tiny limited release to now, it had a plus percentage of like over 1,000 because it's like, of course, you were in 5 theaters and now you're in like 6,000. So, well, that's a hyperbole, people. don't think this movie made it to 6,000 theaters. But so we're counting this as a week 1 movie. This is its first wide release, and it took in $3 million. I didn't get a chance to see it. I didn't see any of the new movies that were released this weekend. I chose instead to do something that I had never done before, and I know it's amazing. You're going to be shocked that somebody who has seen as many movies as I have, has been going to the movies as long as I have never seen an IMAX movie before. Just never gotten to an IMAX theater. It's a little difficult in my area where I live to get to one that is owned by the company that I work for, and I didn't really want to pay money to go see an IMAX movie when I can just see it from my company. But I had to travel into like New York City to go do it, but I'm too lazy to go do it. Well, this weekend finally gave me the opportunity to go see a movie in IMAX for the first time, because they were showing my second favorite movie of all time, E.T., in IMAX. So naturally, I had decided it was like, motherfucker, it is time that you finally got in and go see a movie in IMAX. It is one of your favorite movies ever. Just fucking bite the bullet. You haven't paid for a movie in 13 years. I think you could pay to go see E.T. And so I did it. I didn't see any of the new movies. I went instead to go see E.T. in IMAX. And let me tell you, it was way better than any of those new movies were ever going to be. It was fucking phenomenal. I've seen the movie a million times. I'll watch it a million more times. That movie is just an absolute masterpiece to me. I don't throw that word around a lot with movies, masterpiece, but E.T. definitely lives up to that moniker. Remaining in number 9 is Elvis in its 8th week, dropping 34.4%, taking in $2.585 million for a total domestic haul of $141.2 million. This movie continues to be a huge win for Warner Brothers, a huge win for Austin Butler, just a huge win for Elvis overall. Huge win for music biopics, absolutely. This is a movie that has absolutely captured audiences this summer. It continues to make money at my theater. It was one of the few movies, that and Top Gun, the only 2 movies to actually do any business at my theater this weekend. It was insanely dead at my theater, but Elvis, Top Gun, and a little bit of Bullet Train managed to like make it a little bit okay, but it was definitely, you definitely felt how quiet it was at theaters this weekend. And another new release movie rounding out the top 10 is the movie Fall in its first week, taking in $2.5 million. This was, if I was to go see a new movie this weekend, this was the one that I wanted to see. I love schlocky nonsense, and this movie looks like absolute nonsense. So I definitely need to get out to the theaters and check this movie out. I'm going to try to during the week. I have the day off tomorrow, but I got some stuff I got to do. But maybe once I get that done, I can go do a double feature of Bodies, and Fall. But don't hold your breath. Taking a look now at the summer overall, we're going to take a look here at the total grossing weekends for all of summer 22. This past weekend was the worst weekend for the entire summer, with $55.5 million over the weekend. You definitely felt it in theaters. At my theater, it was absolutely dead. We were going from all of July, where like every day you were doing over 1,000 people, and we're on a lower scale theater, so doing 1,000 people every day is incredible for that. And now we went this past weekend, I think the Friday we did less than 300 people. Saturday we did less than 300 people. I was off today, so I don't know exactly how they did today, but it was a very quiet weekend. We didn't even get any of the new like big releases. We didn't get Fall, we didn't get Bodies. We got this movie that I had never heard of called Summering, and just to show you how much no one's ever heard of Summering opened in number 27 this weekend. A horrible opening, if I do say so myself. I think the movie made less than like $300,000. It just an absolute, I don't know what they were thinking giving us that movie. We would have been better off just keeping Thor for the weekend. But that's what we got. Nobody came to the theaters this weekend. It was absolutely pitiful this weekend, and I shudder to see how it's going to be next weekend. Hopefully it'll be a little bit better, because next weekend we're getting Beast with Idris Elba, and we're getting the Dragon Ball Z movie, so hopefully the weebs will be coming in and may give us a little bit boost this weekend coming in to see their anime nerd shit. But we take a look here at the Summer 22 2022 grossing weekends, the highest grossing weekend we did for this summer was July 8th to the 10th. That was Thor opening weekend. We did $237 million over that 3-day weekend. Coming in number second was July 1st to the 4th. That was obviously the 4th of July weekend, so that was a 4-day weekend. We did $221 million. That was the Minions release. Taken third was May 6th to 8th. That kick-started the summer movie season with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It did $220 million. Chugging along then, we had Memorial Day weekend, May 27th to the 30th. Another 4-day weekend with Top Gun. Also, Bob's Burgers movies came out that weekend. We did $220 million. Round and round out after that, we got June 10th to the 12th. That was Jurassic World Dominion with $212 million that weekend. We had June 17th to the 19th, $163 million. We had Lightyear, though Lightyear was not the big winner for that weekend. It came in at number 2 in its opening weekend. I never thought I would have saw the day for that, for a Pixar movie not opening in number 1. It was just, what a summer it has been with your surefire bets just not panning out for you. After that, we had June 24th to the 26th with a $133 million weekend. That was Elvis and the Black Phone. We've got July 15th to the 17th, $131 million. Where the Crawdads Sing was the new big movie. Didn't make number 1, I believe. Thor was still number 1 that weekend. That weekend also saw the release of Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank. Just a pitiful animated movie. Coming in right hot on its heels, July 22nd to the 24th, we had $124 million. That was the debut weekend of Nope. June 3rd to the 5th, we did $118 million. Nothing came out that weekend. That is a holdover weekend from Top Gun Maverick, just to show you the fucking legs that movie had right out of the gate. We have July 29th to the 31st with $93 million. That was for DC Super Pets. We have May 13th to the 15th, $89 million weekend. That was for the weekend of Firestarter. It's amazing that that was the second weekend after Doctor Strange and we were already back down to under $100 million. Just goes to show that the longevity on those Marvel movies is not as like sustainable as some other stuff. Like you look from week 1 to week 2 of Top Gun, still over $100 million both those weekends. But from week 1 to week 2 of Doctor Strange, dropping back under to $100 million. Thanks to fucking Firestarter coming out with it. It's a very interesting thing to keep an eye on. That's why I like looking at these numbers, because that's a super interesting thing to see how just front-loaded those Marvel movies are. Coming in right after that, we have August 5th to the 7th with $88 million. That is Bullet Train. Then we have the weekend of May 20th to the 22nd, $71 million with Downton Abbey. Again, that's the third weekend after Doctor Strange. And if you look at that, really until Top Gun out, the entirety of May, Doctor Strange had to just run shit. And even though it did run shit and it did make a lot of money, like you would think that all 3 of those weekends we would be over 100 million with people wanting to come back and get those repeat business on Doctor Strange. But no, for the rest of May, we were hovering just underneath 100 million. Like we just couldn't keep it above that. It's very interesting to take a look at that and just see how those numbers just didn't correlate to like week to week growth for Doctor Strange. And then rounding out the worst of the worst is our past weekend, August 12th to the 14th with 55.5. Bodies, technically the big release. Although you could probably get away with saying there was no big, huge, wide release for this weekend. And that's just where we are right now. I can't wait to see next week to see if that can do a little bit bigger. I'm technically considering this the end of the summer, even though really we go till Labor Day is really the end of the summer box office. I just don't see any of these other movies really keeping us or getting us back up to, I don't see us seeing the 100 million mark again for a little while. So I think we are going to be hovering safely underneath the $100 million range for the next month or two, probably until we get to Black Adam in October, and Halloween Kills or Ends. I don't know, all those fucking movies are the same. Halloween Ends, Halloween Kills was last year. Although you would be mistaken for thinking it's coming out again, because if you watch the Halloween Ends trailer, it just looked like the Halloween Kills trailer again. But I digress. That's October. We don't need to talk about all that nonsense yet. Taking a look at our top 10 worldwide, Absolutely nothing has changed any spots. Everything is still in the same spot. We've just added some totals to them. They are just slowly working their way up, trying to pass people again. It is a relay race right now. Top Gun Maverick still at number 1 with $1.3 million. Jurassic World Dominion coming in at 974, trying to get that last bit to get to $1 billion. Does it have it? I don't know, especially since the movie is about to drop on physical media on Tuesday. That came out of nowhere. They just announced that like last week. That was very interesting, but I'm super excited that they're doing it already, just because I want to get that movie to finish off the collection, and they are releasing a really awesome collector set of the entire franchise, Jurassic Parks and Worlds, in a really awesome steelbook set, so naturally I'm going to have to pick that up as well. Doctor Strange still in third place with $954 million. Minions in fourth with $790 million. Last week I was reporting that it had already grossed $900 million. I don't know where I got that number because it is not on any of the numbers or Box Office Mojo or any of that shit. So I must have just conjured it out of thin fucking air somehow, even though I could have sworn I was looking at the right shit. So who knows where last numbers came from, but the actual worldwide number that it is at is $790 million closing in. I don't know if it's going to have the goods to get to $1 billion. I don't even know if it's going to have the goods to pass Doctor Strange, but we'll see how it goes week to week now. The Batman in number 5 with $770 million, no move there. Thor, Love and Thunder, slowly raising up its tally to $720 million. Probably within the next week or two, it will be passing the Batman. How much more it has in the tank after that remains to be seen. And then our next 4 movies still in the same place, haven't moved at all. Watergate Bridge, Fantastic Beasts, Sonic, and Uncharted still get to cling to life in the top 10 and enjoy another week in the sun. God knows how much longer they have. Well, Watergate Bridge probably will make it closer to the end of the year than the rest of those ones. Fantastic Beasts, Sonic, and Uncharted, I want to say have no shot of still being on here, but you never know with the box office with how it's going right now. You can never count on any movie that you think is a sure bet to get up there to actually get up there. I mean, we could realistically say Avatar 2 is making it on this list, so Uncharted's gone. Black Panther 2 is definitely making it on this list, so Sonic is probably also gone. I mean, you'd think there'd be a safe bet with Black Adam, but I don't know. I really don't know. It's possible that it doesn't. You'd think it would also be a safe bet because whatever that animated movie that Disney's releasing over Thanksgiving weekend, Strange World, Disney usually does really well around there with that time with animated movies. But again, it's an untested property, so I don't know. It's possible it doesn't. There is, I believe, Shazam coming out right after Avatar. It's possible it could come out and knock Fantastic Beasts out, but not as sure bet as you think. So maybe Fantastic Beasts might just get by the skin of its teeth, depending on how some of these untested movies do. But I think Uncharted and Sonic, it's safe to say that you two will enjoy your day in the sun now, and when Wakanda Forever and Avatar 2 come out, you will be saying goodbye to the top 10 worldwide for 2022. One last list before we leave us here today. It is not a list to do with numbers or anything, but like I said a few minutes ago, to me, summer 2022, we've put a book on it. All the big, wide release, huge budget movies have come out. Nothing really is going to come out now that's going to do anything that's going to put any dent in these numbers. So I thought it's a good time now that we'll drop my rankings for summer 2022. I might make a separate video where I go a bit more in depth into this ranking system and why I've chosen these movies where I have chosen them. But I figured I'd give you the quick rundown here. We won't go too deep into the movies, but I'll just give you my rundown of my rankings for the movies that have come out for summer 2022. Let's go to the charts. Coming in at number 1 is no surprise to anybody. It is Top Gun Maverick. That is the best movie of the summer, bar none. I dare anybody to try and argue differently. Obviously, you can argue differently. If you'd like to argue differently, let's hear it down in the comments. I always love a good debate on movies. If you liked any of these other ones more than Top Gun, let me hear it. Let me hear why. Let's hear valid criticisms. Let's hear valid reasons why. Let's keep it with actual valid film criticisms, because if you just say stupid shit like Marvel movies are better, I'm going to ignore you, dumbass. But Top Gun Maverick takes number 1 for me. Number 2, we've got Nope. Jordan Peele's Nope was a very surprising movie for me. I actually ended up loving it a lot more than I thought it was going to do. It was such an original, fun movie for me. It was a great summer movie, excellent sci-fi movie. Number 3, a movie that I did not see coming in at number 3 is Where the Crawdads Sing, a very fine, dramatic movie. I love myself a good courtroom drama as well, so anytime you're throwing courtroom drama in there, you've got my ass in the seat. Number 4 was Bullet Train, the fun action kung fu nonsensical Brad Pitt extravaganza. Number 5 was Elvis, just a wild fucking biopic, but I enjoyed it all the same. Number 6 was the Bob's Burgers movie. Anybody who loves Bob's Burgers is just gonna love that movie. It's fucking so much fun. Coming in right after that was BJ Novak's debut, Vengeance, a neat little original movie that if you haven't seen, you should definitely get your ass out to the theater and see it if you can. Coming in after that is Lightyear, a movie that not nearly as bad as everybody wanted to make it out to seem. I definitely wouldn't say it's a great movie. I don't see myself ever returning to watch this movie again. But I definitely did not hate it as much as everybody else did. It might have laid a little too much pipe and taken itself a little too long to get going, but it still had some enjoyable moments to it. Coming in after that was Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. From Lightyear on, I don't see myself really ever watching any of these movies ever again. Maybe like 10, 20 years down the line if I'm really a glutton for punishment. But Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, I've gone on and on and on about my feelings on this movie. I'm going to be on a buddy of mine's podcast in a few weeks, so if you really want to see me go in depth on that movie, I'll probably go into that and Thor a lot on that podcast. So you could check that out there. I'll whenever it comes to drop, I'll drop a link and let everybody know. But my feelings on Doctor Strange are not foreign. Just go watch any of my other videos where I talk about this summer and you'll see why. Coming in after that, we had The Black Phone. It was a fine little horror movie there. Dropping in after that was Jurassic World Dominion, a movie that was a hell of a lot better than Fallen Kingdom, but still fell way short in a lot of other departments. Coming in behind that was Thor, Love and Thunder. That movie, that's another one. If you want to hear my thoughts on, I'll do a separate ranking video on it, and you'll hear my thoughts on the podcast on Marvel as a whole for that. Coming in after that are the 2 movies that I absolutely fucking loathed for this year, which was Minions, The Rise of Gru. I just fucking can't stand the Minions. They're just not for me. And that's fine. Those movies aren't made for me anyway, so I understand that I am probably in the minority for people there. If you like the Minions, that's totally okay. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you get value out of it. I am not one of those people. And then rounding out the worst movie of the summer is probably what everybody would agree was the worst movie of the summer, is Firestarter. Just an absolutely, just a train wreck. There was no need for that movie to exist. It's so boring except for like the last 10 minutes of that movie. That was a surefire miss for summer 2022. And that'll do it for this week in the charts. It's going to be fun watching the rest of August. It's definitely going to be interesting. I expect we're just going to keep watching that tally drop and drop and drop, and to just see how low it can get. Hopefully it doesn't get too low. Like I said before, hopefully we can find some little gems in there, like Beast is coming out next week. The week after that is that movie, The Invitation, I want to say, a little horror movie. So maybe hopefully some of these little horror movies can interject a little late summer scares, keep that box office afloat until we can get to October, because it's going to be an interesting next 2 months. But that'll do it for all of us here at the Adventure Outpost. As always, it is great talking numbers with y'all. If you saw any of the movies this weekend and you want to sound off in the comments about them, knock yourself out. They're right down there below. But until the next time, you have been you, I have been me. These are the movies that we love. Go out and check a movie. Get that box office tally up, people. And until next time, adventure on.